That brings us to item number 12. We had no one to sign up tonight, so it takes us to item number 13, which is actions as necessary or appropriate on matters discussed in executive session. And I will entertain motions. I know we need action on item 3C. Mr. Cates.
Mr. Chairman, I move we give approval to selected employment items, Exhibit A, which is 3C.
We have a second. Ms. Gardner seconds. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please raise your hand. That passes unanimously. And I believe that is the only item that needs a motion. And that will take us to item 14, which is the approval of the professional services contract for consulting services for redistricting shown in Exhibit C. Do I have a motion? Ms. Hutchison.
I move we accept the administration's recommendation to approve the professional services contract with Malone and McBroom for growth forecasting and redistricting services in School District 5 at a cost of not more than $76,000.
We have a second. Mr. Cates seconds. And we'll have discussion. Ms. Hutchison, do you have discussion on that?
Well, when I was reading the contract today and their scope of services, it really is pretty impressive, very impressive actually. The fact that they'll be reaching out to county governments, I'm sure local governments, and coordinating with these governments as well as coordinating with the school district office. And after I finished reading all of that and then saw the amount that they were charging, all I could think of was let's hurry up and approve it right now, because I can't imagine getting a better price on a project with this scope and with the deliverables that they will provide us.
Mr. Lewis.
I have a proposed amendment to the motion on the floor. Whereas we support the concept of redistricting throughout the district, whereas the administration has purchased on May 28, 2019, computer software on a renewable basis for
Mr. Lewis, I'll let you continue that. If you have an amendment to the motion that's on the floor, we need to hear what the amendment to the motion is.
That's what I'm doing.
Motion.
I'm reading the amendment to the motion that I proposed.
Whereas is,
Yes.
at the end of that, you'll have a motion to amend very specifically.
Yes, sir. Okay. Whereas the administration has purchased on May 28, 2019, computer software on a renewable basis for a period of 5 years at a potential cost of $126,720.80 from vendor K-12, Guide K-12. Whereas the administration has not included a transportation study in the proposal to the contract for outside services to consultant Malone and McBroom Incorporated, Connecticut Corporation. Whereas the information is readily available through other sources such as county governments and real estate professionals, free of charge to determine the prerequisite parameters and constraints which must be supplied by the district to any proposed consultant. Whereas the 2020 U.S. Census has not been completed. Now, therefore, we, with this motion, agree to delay action until such time as one, the administration provides the board with more than one proposal from local consultants to include a complete transportation study. Two, the administration, through the use of its newly purchased computer software and outside sources, provides the board with parameters and constraints upon which the criteria given to consultants will be based. And three, the 2020 U.S. Census has been published and data gained therefrom has been made available to potential consultants respectively submitted.
And your motion at the end is where it starts with delay?
Yes.
And then has the pieces in there?
Yes.
All right, and I assume all that's
Yes, sir.
all that in Mr. Hours, because you don't need
Yeah, I've got that.
Okay, so Mr. Lovelace, I'm not going to go back through his whereases in the motion, but the main thing you're asking for is a delay. These other pieces are put in place or recognized.
That's correct.
Okay, so Mr. Lovelace has made a motion. Hutchinson's original motion. Is there a second to Ms. Gardner, seconding the motion? And now we have discussion on Mr. Levis, so I'll get back to you, Mr. Levis, if you'd like to discuss it.
Yes, we have basically some time to do this. I don't think it's necessary that we rush into it, because if we use the 2020 census data, I feel that we would end up with a more complete and a more successful program than what we're going to have. I'm basically worried that in the area that I live in, that our new school 13 be populated with students from Chapin. I'm concerned that Lake Murray Elementary School will be, the students from there will be moved to Chapin, and I think that is probably not going to be, a successful item as we propose. And I'm also worried that we may not be successful in looking at the schools in the Irmo cluster, because we don't have the data that we would need for the 2020 census. I think this is premature. I do support the action, but I don't think that by hiring Malone and McBroom, basically, we're going to supply them with a computer program that maybe they should be supplying and their consultants. Plus that, they're from Connecticut and not local, and I'm concerned with that too.
Mr. Cates, thank you, Mr. Levis.
Mr. Chairman, since I've been on the board, and really since I've been connected to District 5, one of the criticisms of the board is we're not willing to look at rezoning. Now we have rezoning on the table, and we're asked to delay. I also believe the consultant spoke specifically to the 2020 census and indicated that data would not be available in time to consider this for the opening of elementary 13 in school year, Dr. Melton helped me, school year 2021 and 2022, that the data would not be available. I also think that it is a false assertion to suggest that all they're doing is taking data that we provide. The contract specific, their expertise was, I thought, very well outlined in his presentation. Yes, they are a Connecticut company with a long history of work, not only in our state, but in the region, and most recently in a neighboring county. The administration has indicated that the outside resources would be important. They have done their due diligence to look at the experience that neighboring districts had with Malone and McBroom, and it's with those considerations that I would not support the amendment.
I think the point that we purchased the software that is needed to do this study, I can't help but agree that maybe we could have found a company that also would have already bought that software, because that's what they do. And I don't think it's unreasonable to be sure we've got the best price and be sure that it's not something we could save, since I think, how much was it, $125,000? For the software. I would think that we would be able to get the information. As we had this discussed when y'all presented it a few months ago, we had a presentation on it, and I said this then, that I think we could, at least gotten several offers of other companies that do it than just picking out the one and deciding on it when we had already bought the software. So I can support the amendment.
Ms. Gardner.
I think my biggest concern is that things are very fluid in the Chapin area, and they will be for the next year and a half or so. And I think that's true also in the Irmo area and all of our clusters. I mean, the stability might be in the Dutch Fork area, but and that would be just something I said. I don't have any expertise in that area. I just know that Chapin is moving. It's changing. The real estate market is crazy right now. And I wonder if doing this, I would like for someone to help me understand why we have to to do this now, knowing that even with information, we do not plan, as far as we can tell, to rezone a year before we open the school. So I don't know if this question is for Dr. Nelson or Dr. Harris, but if we started this study now and it became available before the 2020 school year, before we open the school, the year before, we're not going to do anything with it. So wouldn't it behoove us to wait to see if there's a little more stability, or at least to see we don't miss any major changes? Because that's my biggest concern. I feel like this is a little early.
Harris, any of this you'd like to address?
Well, thank you. I'll start the Dr. Harris probably. Ms. Gardner, I appreciate the question. We as a staff are looking internally at what are the internal things that we need to do that may not be like the physical assignment of students. We have to think about staff. If our teachers are going to be changing schools, they need time to be prepared. We do not want to let them know at the contract time where they're going to be signed the following year, or just after contract time. That would break our trust with our teachers. So we want to make a process where we can make sure the community is well aware of where the lines may be, where we can listen to the community to take feedback from them, making revisions that people may have in this group can hear, of course, that we can hear as well. So it's not just about the student assignment issue, it's also about the preparation to make sure that we are prepared successfully to open the year, that Dr. Jakes knows staffing-wise what she's going to need, Mr. Richardson knows financial-wise what we're going to need for our budget. Yes, the funds are secure for the building of the school, but we've got to make sure that we have the funds to equip the school. Things that we've talked about in the last 2 weeks, and I don't say this to be sarcastically funny, but we've talked about cleaning supplies, we've talked about toilet paper, we've talked about those kinds of things that may not be included. But that's the kind of details we're already getting into October 2019 to be ready for this to be opened successfully. So there's going to be a budget effect, there's going to be a staff effect, a staffing assignment effect, a process for how Dr. Jakes is going to design this to communicate it to the staff, so that when there are vacancies in the new school, we can't hire all new people to come into District 5 because we're shifting students. We will be shifting students around. So how do you find that balance? How do you open up the transfer process? All that's going to become a part of this process. We're trying to do it in a timely way so that it isn't too aggressive and confusing to the staff, confusing to the community, confusing to the parents and the students. We're trying to make sure that we do it in a logical, sequential way so that we can pace this out with the staff that we have complemented by these services. Dr. Harris, what did I forget that you wanted to make sure that you included?
I think you stated it very well, and if I can just reiterate the fact that it is pretty standard that about a year out that you do propose and have these things in place, because the one thing that we get a school district can go forward to do is to communicate to staff and to community at the last minute, so to speak. And so in checking and talking with other school districts, this is pretty much the practice that they follow, and it is also just looking at the revenue of what needs to be done. It's going to require some time in which to invest to make certain that we are communicating and planning effectively, to make certain that on fall of 21 that we're ready to open the school once it's complete.
Mr. White.
And as a follow-up question, what's the deal about the software, $120,000? Can you explain that?
Yes, sir. I'd
What
like Dr.
necessity
Harris
that
and
is?
Mr. Holder may like to come back to the microphone. Dr. Harris, I'll ask you to go first.
The GIS software is a locator system. So currently we have, if a person wanted to identify what school they're zoned to attend for a family, it's a software that helps us to identify that for our community. That figure is over the course of 5 years, am I right? I think it's 5 years contract. That's a total amount over 5 years, so it's broken out in payments that way. But it is an it's an identification for locating in terms of attendance and zoning for families who are here at the school district.
So we'll be using that tool for 5 years?
Yes, we're trying, Mr. Holden is working on a model that he can actually, in the past, we outsourced with an external consultant, Dr. McKibben. We have made the decision to look internally for Mr. Holden's model and then complement it by the recommended model that you have here tonight. So if you've noticed, last fall, we did not bring in McKibben numbers to you that have been updated because we were trying to make sure that we continue to use the data that we've been given in the last report from Dr. McKibben, but trying to make sure that Director Holden, who just finished his first year as a Director of Accountability, now he's in year 2, we want to make sure that he has up-to-date information with the GPS locating system so that we can have a reliable structure internally. internally, but we're not at the place of confidence yet because this is a new software to us. Dr. Harrison, Mr. Horner went through the process of vetting and making the selection to secure, but we need to make sure that we have validity and accuracy. We're not at the place of comfort to go and do a fruit basket turnover shuffle across the district and then find out that our model internally was flawed. There's a complementary process that we hope to have in place.
So am I correct that software is actually a much broader window than this is contract? You all gonna be using that for 5 years?
The contract guide and guide K-12 are really, they complement one another, but the software itself is not gonna do what it is we need to do that this professional service is gonna make available to us. It's not gonna do that. Again, it's just simply a locator system to identify that we have a web-based.
But once we do let's just say we do a rezoning, and you got 3.5 more years of software, and you know what the students are, we can make adjustments, we can make modifications, or at least know if something's out of whack. I'm trying to understand, it sounds very simplistic to say we don't need the software. What I'm hearing y'all saying is this software's got a 5-year window, and you're using that data for 5 years. That is in real time coming from the population of families we serve. So it's not, okay, you gotta have it just for this one consultant to deliver.
Absolutely not that.
But we're gonna be using it throughout the whole 5 years.
That's correct.
Okay.
That is correct. It is not for one time. That is correct.
Mr. Lewis.
Well, first of all, I think it would be better for us to learn how to use the software before we do this study. The second thing is, we are not including the transportation study in this at all. And I just don't see how we can do the parameters, how we can fit that in to, why we would rush to do that when we can do a transportation study also. I mean, I asked that question specifically, and I asked for that to be included in the proposal. The man stood there, the man from McBroom said that they don't do that kind of stuff. So what I'm saying is, why are we not getting a complete, consultant's report with both phases of this installed, and learn how to use the software so that it wouldn't be a contributing factor if we've already bought it? That's the point I'm trying to make.
Can you address the transportation study?
I'll ask Mr. Richardson. I see Mr. Wiseman is in the audience, and we celebrate his leadership because he knows our system so well and he's currently doing our transportation assignments. Mr. Richardson.
Well, knowing Mr. Wiseman like I do, I don't know that we would need to actually hire somebody to do a transportation study for us, but I don't think that we have anybody can do it any better than what we currently have in-house.
For you all to know, Mr. Wiseman looks at where students are zoned and he understands the parameters of South Carolina's transportation system. So although transportation is not identified in this contract because, as Mr. Love said, they do not provide that service, that's going to be something we make sure Mr. Wiseman will be at the table and part of the conversation so that he and Mr. Richardson can talk about what do we provide, for example, with our choice process of our newest Magna grant. We are required by federal grant procedures to provide transportation to our Discover 5 schools. So those kinds of things would be the right staff being at the table answering questions during the data collection piece. And then Mr. Wiseman would definitely be watching the projections of where students were to be assigned to make sure that we have the appropriate number of buses, or him going to the department requesting additional buses, which this group would not have the authority to do. Just Richard, did I forget anything with that?
I think you got it all. It's all going to be a part of this process that we're getting ready to do this.
So basically, nobody at this table is an expert in rezoning and transportation, but it doesn't sound like those are components that are necessarily done together. They may be better done independently of one another.
Trying to make sure I'm acting within the order of the board, so.
Or the consultant would do it all. It seems like it just doesn't seem like it's for us to say these two have to be tied together. Particularly if it's more important to have people inside the organization that know the unique programs, et cetera, that may get overlaid on top of where the mapping says the students ought to be drawing. Maybe transportation is a sub-issue. School rezoning is the first issue.
Transportation is a significant issue because we have a limited amount of resources to use, but where we are currently stretched across the district, we're able to make the current system work, quite frankly, because of Mr. Wiseman and his very capable staff. He started the year off 100% staffed. Many school districts were out recruiting, trying to get drivers at the last minute, but people want to be here, and I attribute much of that to Mr. Wiseman's leadership. So with this, it's a rock, talking about the book we read as administration, it is a large rock because transportation is so influential, because so many of our students rely on our transportation system to get to school and to get home from school each and every day. A piece of this that we've not spoken to with much emphasis is think about the choice process. Ms. Gardner asked a question about timing. If I am zoned to a school that's not the school where I want my child to be, then I can then participate in choice, which then honors the system of choice across School District 5. If we do this after the choice window is closed, then imagine the phone calls and emails you all be getting at that point. So I'm trying to make sure we put it in relevant operational terms, things that we manage as administration that you all don't have to be directly involved in, but you're of course supervising the work which we do. So transportation, I do believe, Mr. White, is a key part of this, but I prefer having local control. Mr. Wiseman can predict transportation patterns and know when it's best to go this road versus that road. And with all the construction work coming up in South Carolina, who's going to be able to predict what's going to be happening with rerouting with the Carolina Crossway? Is that right, Dr. Harris?
That's right.
Project that's coming on. Just today, Ms. Stowers fielded a call from a local group that's going to have some issues with the bridge, and they immediately called us, and we immediately routed them to Mr. Wiseman, because it affects their transportation. We prefer having someone locally that knows us well, familiar with our roads, familiar with the right stakeholders, to know how to route and reroute students than it is to have someone come in from outside the school district.
Is it also true that even if we do a rezoning, you may be changing transportation routes for like a variety of factors? The rezoning stays the same, but the transportation routes may change depending upon things like road construction or projects.
It is also to change, sir. We prefer redistricting rather than rezoning, just so we can rebrand what this is about, because this is about us as a district in the system rather than a zone in which you live. But yes, sir, all of that is subject to change.
Mr. Cage, you've been patient.
When Mr. Zuba presented on August 5th, the representative from Malone and McBroom, the question of the transportation study was asked of him, and he said they would, if they did it, they would outsource it if we requested that of them. I think the issue that is pertinent that you've just highlighted is that transportation, as may not be any surprise in South Carolina, we handle that a little bit unique compared to the rest of the country. And I think we're only one, if not maybe two, the only state that transportation is basically managed at the state level. So being the one-off, it would be, I don't think it would be realistic to find someone that would understand that better than someone that has worked with it as long and as closely as Mr. Wiseman. And quite frankly, it would probably be the go-to consultant for transportation studies. So I think there are a lot of reasons that we would manage that transportation point. Part of that, there's not a dispute that the transportation is an important component. The administration recommended that we use an outside source to help with the rezoning because there was a need, but we had the resources internally to handle the transportation component. That's kind of the simplest form that I understand it. There wasn't a request for outside help on transportation.
Ms. Hammond.
And like some of this, I know how well we can have our own public meetings when we've had the, the bond issue, and when we were looking at the school, and when we are showing off all of our magnet schools. Well, just on here, it says both services will be performed for a lump sum, $76,000. Additional public meetings beyond those above can be provided at $4,000 per meeting. Now, down here's a schedule of what they proposed, and they're proposing for the public meetings and communication plan a lump sum of $16,500, which goes into the total of 76. And it does tell us right here that any of this that we want
Ms.
to
Hammond,
take out.
I might caution, we hadn't accepted this
Well, I
contract,
can't
we've
say
only
right.
had it in
Well,
executive
it said
session.
76,000, so I thought.
Yeah, because that's the overall price.
Okay.
Once it's, if it is approved or
Okay.
amended and approved, whatever, it'll be public. I'm sorry.
I will say it like this, it's individualized prices. So I'm saying that there's some of the things that are on the list that they can do, that we could save that money there, because it is something. Just like you're saying the transportation, you didn't put it on there because you think we could do that. I think even some of those are a place to save money. Even if you look at the total price that's been read, of $76,000, and you think of that as a deal, I get that if you're comparing it, but I don't know anything to compare it to, because I had no other prices brought to us as a board. So I support the amendment.
I would like to speak to that last point. It was clear, the procurement process that was employed by the district. It's been explained to each board member that process met every detail of our procurement code, the state's procurement code, and it met the district's procurement requirements. And that the assertion that it wasn't shopped does nothing but cast doubt on the validity of the district's choice to follow its own procurement code.
All right, we're gonna maybe have one more brush of this. We were talking about the amendment. I'll come back to Mr. Lovelace and Mr. White. Mr. Lovelace.
Well, that last comment was out of place. I mean, that that didn't happen like that.
What are you saying?
Well, I'm saying that the point was missed in that whole thing. This board did not vote to put this out for bid.
Mr. Lovelace, you got a document in your packet.
I did.
That very detailed explained that. It was a confidential document. And our attorney is here, probably could address some of that, but you got as much detail
Mr. Gann,
last week, and you didn't address it until tonight, if you had other issues with it. This is
last
our
week.
week.
Well, anyway,
Last week,
I
you got your
take
whole
issue with that
packet.
comment. I
I'll
mean,
take issue with it, but you got it last Thursday, and I'm believing that you didn't.
Well, I didn't have that posed to me like that until right now, but that is not the case. And I'll at a later date, I would like to address that, and I don't want to tie up this, but, we haven't done the due diligence on this that we needed to do.
In your opinion.
Right.
We'll go to Mr. White. That's gonna be the last comment, and we're gonna go to the.
I got a quick question, and I got two comments. But am I correct, and maybe Mike Montgomery, if you're in the audience, still waiting, you might have to answer this, but am I correct, when it comes to professional services, we don't have to bid stuff out, we can select vendors on the basis of quality and expertise?
Your procurement code contains an exemption which allows it, yes.
Yeah, and I'm somebody who's in the professional service business. I can tell you, people are not commodities when it comes to professional services, and allowing our superintendent to select people based on reputation and quality, I don't feel the need to go bid that out. But I'm going to tell you what I told you when we first put this contract the first time. Nobody at this table is experts in this area. We don't need to piecemeal and say, okay, we're going to accept this part, not this part, and let's do this ourselves. They've already decided they can do the piece, this transportation in-house. If y'all feel like this is a quality move, I hear you talking and saying there are operational issues involved, which further shows we hired a superintendent to hire staff to operate schools. We don't do that. And to the extent we start dictating decisions that have operational components, we're indirectly trying to operate the schools. I think this is totally for y'all. If y'all have researched it and you're satisfied this works and you covered your bases, then that's why y'all are here. And this is an extremely important piece. I've never seen anything as controversial the whole time I've been on this board than when we redistrict, if that's what we're going to call it. And it is one of the most contentious things, and to remove this to a level to where we let you all go select what you thought were the best service providers to do this, and we don't get in here and and try to mess it up anyway is the best way to try to bring something that we can say, we've done this the best we can do it, or the district's done the best we can do it. So I'm all for not getting in the middle of the contract to the extent y'all didn't invite us to do it and move forward with what you select.
All right, we've had ample discussion on the amendment to the original motion. So at this time, what we'll be voting on is the motion to amend by Mr. Lovelace, and it was the whereas, but the main part was to delay. And then you will give all that to Mr. Allison, will have his verbatim in a minute. So all those in favor of the motion to amend from Mr. Lovelace to delay this contract, please raise your hand. That is Mr. Lovelace and Ms. Hannah. All those, and going back to the original motion, which was made by all those opposed to the motion to amend, please raise your hand. And that motion fails 5-2, the motion to amend. That brings us back. That brings us back to our original motion by Ms. Hutchison, seconded by Mr. Cates, and discuss. Is there any further discussion on that motion? Ms. Hutchison.
Mr. Gann, I'm wondering, if I should add an amendment, or change my motion, because I said not to exceed 76,000, but I left off the fact that if the school district requests additional public meetings, there will be a charge for that per meeting.
Why don't you restate your motion with that as amended, and we'll have a second.
Okay. Let me see. I move that the board approve the administration's recommendation. Go back to this. Let's see. Thank you. That's what I was looking for. The approval of the professional services contract with Malone and McBroom for growth forecasting and redistricting services, not to exceed $76,000. Additional public meetings beyond those specified in the contract can be provided at the specified amount per meeting as shown in the contract.
Second to Mrs. Hutchins' amendment to her original. Mr. Cates, second. Any further discussion? And Dr. Melton, I assume that would only come through the administration with their recommendation to have additional meetings if the community meetings felt like they're more ready. All right, so at this juncture, we're going to vote on the original motion as amended to add the language that provides for additional meetings if approved. So all those in favor of the amendment as proposed by Ms. Hutchison, please raise your hand. And all those opposed? And the amended motion passes 5-2. Mr. Stowers, you got that in your hands? And I believe that makes the original motion a moot point, so I don't think you need to.
Is that correct? It makes the original motion.
I think it does, because we've actually added language. Okay. Everybody good? You got your count? So the motion passes 5-2. The administration can proceed with the contract. That brings us to item number 15, which is the certification of delegates for the South Carolina School Boards Association 2019-2020 Delegate Assembly. And for the information of the board members here, there will be 5 board members attending at last count, and 2 members not able to attend. So we need to decide tonight, we have 6 delegate votes. What we need to decide is how to distribute those 6 delegate votes. So I have a motion from the floor on the Delegate Assembly for the School Boards Association. Ms. Hutchison.
I move that the votes be distributed evenly among the 5 board members attending, with the extra vote going to the board chair.
Second, Ms. Hammond. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please raise your hand. And that passes unanimously. And we've ended on a unanimous vote, which is wonderful. That takes us to our discussion agenda, which is to basically adjourn. So do I have a motion to adjourn tonight? Mr. White.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Have a second. Mr. Cates seconds. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, raise your hand. How about you folks in favor of leaving? That's another unanimous vote. All right, thank you all for being here. We appreciate it.